Today we're going to talk about quarterbacks at Oklahoma, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today we're going to talk about quarterbacks, what Shane Beamer had to say about Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to handicap this quarterback race, this quarterback competition for you at Oklahoma. So, Shane Beamer coming through with the stories, man. Now, Jason Kersey had this in his piece in The Athletic, and I thought it was actually a really great quote from Shane Beamer talking about what he thinks Jalen Hurts is, not just the kind of quarterback he is, but the kind of person he is. So, Shane Beamer was at Georgia when they made their national title run, got thwarted by Tua in the second half of the 2017 national championship game. You'll remember that same Georgia team whooped Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl in a game that Sooner fans would love to forget because, well, it was in the bag, Lincoln, and then you squib kicked it and got cute. Just give the... We won't replay that game, but we will say Shane Beamer went into halftime and heard Kirby Smart say, "Don't be shocked if they make a change at quarterback. I know Nick." And Beamer was like, ain't no way. Jalen Hurts, SEC Offensive Player of the Year. That's the quarterback that got them here. That would be too bold a move to make this late into the season with the championship on the line. You only have this half to win the game. And then Nick Saban made a change. Brian Daboll, offensive coordinator, dialed up some stuff for Tua, and they win a national championship. Now, Shane Beamer expected for Jalen Hurts to do what a lot of dudes would do, which is say, why did they take me out? What kind of message does that send? To rip up Nick Saban and to rip up this quarterback controversy. And he did nothing of the sort. He read the same press clippings that you and I read. He was looking for anybody to say anything bad from Jalen Hurts or about Jalen Hurts in Alabama, to what he was put through by Nick Saban. Now, we got close to that. Shane Beamer was saying like he's been all about Oklahoma, hasn't said a bad thing about Alabama since he got to OU. And that's true, right? That's true. But it ain't like he took this line down. I mean, I remember, like you remember, last year, he was asked about this at availability, and he finally had something to say after months of speculation about Tua taking his job, and what we all thought was going to happen. Tua Tagovailoa was going to be the starting quarterback at Alabama in 2018, and he said, nobody asked me how I felt. But he asked me what was going on with me. I was just going with the flow, going with the turn of events, and then coach decided Tua was the guy, and you saw Jalen Hurts get some spot duty there. And a lot of people have lauded Jalen Hurts for the way that he conducted himself while at Alabama. Lincoln Riley, to his point, was saying everybody needs a guy on their team like Jalen Hurts, who ain't going to quit, cut, and run because he lost a job to what other people know to be a better quarterback. Well, he kind of did. He left at the end of the season to go to a place where he felt like he would be the starter. Full stop. Austin Kittle did the same thing. Difference is, folks got to see Jalen Hurts be behind Tua Tagovailoa on a really great Alabama team and just felt like, yo, we're asking that dude who's very good, who's one of the best players, let alone quarterbacks in college football, to sit there on the bench, and he's continued to do that. I'm interested to see what this narrative continues to look like because there's a lot of folks that didn't like Justin Fields cutting and running it, going to Ohio State, didn't like Tate Martell cutting and running from Ohio State, going to Miami, so forth, so on. For some reason, Jalen Hurts has inspired a group to just be like, nah, that's the guy that I want to play with. That's the guy that I want on my team. I don't really buy it. I think that the kids should go where they have an opportunity to play. And I think if they're going to be treated like commodities like they are, they should get paid. But y'all don't want to hear me rant about that anymore, even though I'm probably going to rant about it at some point in the future. My point here is, don't pretend Jalen Hurts came to Oklahoma because out of his good graces. Keep in the back of your head, he came here to win a job. He came here to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. Now, we all have basically written his name in ink, sans injury, sans the unforeseen circumstance outside of football that he's going to start at Oklahoma on August 31st against Houston. There's some folks that still hold out that Tanner Mordecai could be the guy. One of those is actually Lincoln Riley, who had really what we had heard all of last year to say about the situation, which is it's a competition here. It is always going to be a competition here. Both of those guys are at different places in their careers, but they both bring something to the table, and they both are playing good football. Okay, cool. When you said it last year between Kyler and Austin, I was inclined to believe you, even as I said Kyler Murray's going to be the guy. Kyler Murray's just the better quarterback. But I don't really think that that's the issue. It's not that I think that Lincoln is lying to anybody. That's not what I'm saying. I believe that he believes there's a competition, and that's how he approaches it when they're in practice and when that quarterback room, because it's part of his process for getting his team prepared to play outstanding and excellent football. What they do on those walls is what they do on those walls. But outside, everything that we know, everything that we understand, all the facts on the ground that you know about football could lead you nowhere else except that Jalen Hurts is the prohibitive favorite to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. But since folks like the numbers and the betting odds, just tell you, since Tanner Mordecai is in the race, I gotta believe Tanner Schaefer is in the race because everybody loves a walk-on, right? Baker Mayfield was a walk-on, took the job, became a Heisman winner, walked on 2 different institutions. It's possible Tanner Schaefer might be that diamond in the rough that everybody's been waiting on to win a national title at Oklahoma. And then you got the 5-star quarterback and Spencer Rattler arriving in the summer, who many people would tell you, myself included, is more talented from a tool standpoint and an ability standpoint than the other 3 guys who are already on campus. Why wouldn't Spencer Rattler be able to compete for the job? He has all the tools of a Trevor Lawrence. If he can pick up the offense and he can spin it, why wouldn't he be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma on August 31st against Houston? Tell you why. Or before I tell you why, let's just handicap it. Let's make Spencer Rattler a 30-1 favorite to win the job at Oklahoma because he hasn't been with the team. He's had access to some of the plays in the playbook, but reading that stuff is like playing Madden. You can either do it or you can't. But when you get to Oklahoma and you see the speed of the game and you see all of the things that you're being asked to do on the fly and the basic understanding of how to be a college student, that's where the 30-1 comes from. Now, Tanner Schaefer doesn't have the tools of the other 3 guys, but he knows how to win, and he's a West Texas quarterback. He understands what Lincoln Riley is like, and he has a great relationship with the head coach at Oklahoma. They're pals. They've been in the wars together. He's watched these guys work. You can make an argument that perhaps he's even more better prepared than Tanner Mordecai. Maybe we make him 35-1 based on his not necessarily have the abilities that a Spencer Rattler does. Then you talk about Tanner Mordecai, who most people who don't believe Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma believe is the favorite to be the starter against Houston on August 31st. He can spin it. Over 4,000 yards passing as a senior in high school to go along with over 1,100 yards rushing. The dude knows from winning time. You saw him on the podium. He acquits himself well. He's even-keeled. He has a good relationship with everybody on the team. He's also taken Jalen Hurts coming in and Austin Kendall leaving in stride. He learned from Kyler Murray last year. He redshirted. He has more reps in Lincoln Riley's offense than Jalen Hurts. Let's make him a 15-1 favorite based on all of those. But Jalen Hurts won a national title at Alabama, was the player of the year in what is the best conference in football, led his team not just to a national championship, but to an SEC title win last year when Tua Tagovailoa and his ankle could not get it done. Knows what to do in winning time. Also is a bigger, stronger cat than the other 3 quarterbacks. And yeah, he's not necessarily the great, outstanding, pro-style quarterback that, say, a Spencer Rattler might be. But he does understand the kind of offense that Lincoln Riley wants to run. If no other reason, then they kind of put it in last year, and they went to their Big 12 style of RPO offense at Alabama, and that's where he was, with Dan Enos as quarterback coach, right? Who everybody knows, pretty good quarterback coach. He ain't Lincoln Riley, but he ain't chopped liver either. Let's make him a gazillion-1 favorite to win the job. Nah, I'm joking. I gotta give that dude even money, right? Matter of fact, no. You gonna owe me money if that dude wins the starting job. That's how little I care to take your bet on this. I would make it so you got to put down like $700 to pay out $100. Because if you're the kind of dude making the bet against or for Jalen Hurts, against Jalen Hurts, I don't really necessarily want to talk football with you unless you have some really outstanding observations and opinions about this. And I've heard from a lot of y'all in the comments, and I've heard from a lot of y'all on Twitter, and nothing you've said so far about Tanner Mordecai, Spencer Rattler, or Tanner Schaefer sways me from believing what is inevitable, which is Jalen Hurts will start at quarterback against Houston in an Oklahoma jersey wearing number 1 in about 5 months' time. All right, now let's talk with Patrick Masek and Austin Chadwick on the Sports Animal about quarterbacks, Alex Grinch, Ryan Jones, Buki, Caleb Kelly, what have you. Let's get into it.
No. You just think you better play as well as anybody else on this day.
Yeah, it's competition. Like it's always been here, and so we've always had competitions. We'll always have competitions. This is a very real one. Those guys are both playing well, doing a lot of good things. They're both at totally different points of their career. One's at the beginning of his career, one's at the end. One's been here for a little while, one just got here, so it's like they're almost just kind of polar opposite ends on both sides of it. So it's kind of, there's probably some intrigue from the outside on that, but they're pushing each other, they're making each other better, competing well, and then, for both of them, it's just, you got to focus on yourself. You got to try to get better and trust that if I do it as well as I can, that'll be enough, to help me win the job.
Lincoln Riley talking. Who was that asking him the question?
Carrie.
Who was that? I think it was Murdoch.
Yes, Carrie.
That was Carrie?
Yeah, it's Carrie.
I think so. I got that audio this morning. I haven't talked to our boy. I didn't get a chance to talk to him last week. I'm a little excited. Yeah. RJ Young, OUinsider.com. You can find him on YouTube. YouTube RJ Young. Also on Twitter as well. Again, Lincoln Riley. We'll talk about that. But you put out a good video yesterday.
Great video.
Basically talking about, and this is what we've said, I think, a lot. OU has talent on the roster. Alex Grinch has to figure out how to use it. You highlighted Buki, Ryan Jones, and Caleb Kelly as, hey, these are guys that Alex Grinch needs to work on.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that actually since jump, because we've been having this ongoing discussion about there's talent on the roster, there's talent on the roster, there's talent on the roster. Okay, where? Right? And I've always been a big Ryan Jones guy because he's converted wide out to safety to linebacker, and Caleb Kelly has those 5 stars next to his name, and Buki has those 5 stars next to his name, and yet they don't really have a position at OU. Caleb Kelly was supposed to be the will at starter this time last year and found out there was another guy that better fit the position. Ryan Jones got on the field, but apparently when you move Caleb Kelly back to Sam, there's no room for Ryan Jones, and of course Buki comes in as a cornerback. And we've yet to see him play cornerback. And if the defensive recruiting continues to go that it will, you won't see him play cornerback at Oklahoma. And yet, those 3 guys for me are some of your most talented football players. If you don't have a place for them on your defense, okay, cool. But don't expect your defense to be very good either, because those guys are significant contributors and absolutely outstanding athletes. That's where I'm really looking to see if Alex Grinch is going to earn his $1.4 million.
Do you think you get yourself in a situation with Grinch? He wasn't involved in recruiting any of these guys that are on campus. So he kind of has a clean slate. He can kind of, if he's going to make a change or to ask a guy to play this position or that position, he doesn't have to answer to, well, you didn't recruit me for that. You recruited me to come here and play this. And I think that helps him in the sense to where if there is a particular position he wants a guy to play, or he thinks a guy will translate very well there, definitely. A new coach like that can definitely at least have an argument with the player without the player getting mad about, well, you didn't recruit me for that. You get into all that stuff. And so that's why, I think that's one of the advantages I think he has.
Right, and I think that you saw that play out at Washington State, which is the only place where he's called plays as a defensive coordinator. He was able to just do what he wanted to do, and that worked, right? So perhaps they're just guys that aren't going to fit, and they're probably not going to have opportunities to play, or going to have to play something entirely different. I keep going back to this guy put a 250-pound man at one technique, just you're not really going to do that unless you feel like, hey, I need to do what I need to do. And if that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. So with Ryan Jones, Brandon Jones reported this, he's been playing a little rush linebacker, which is interesting because that's Ronnie Perkins' spot, or that's his position. That's Jalen Redmond's position. That's the Obo Oronquo on the defense. I'm like, okay, I can see that. But if Ryan Jones is buying into playing that position, that's something else entirely, right? Because one of the things that I want to just get across more often to fans, to folks that follow recruiting, that look at the roster shifting and want these big, tall wide receivers to play corner is these guys' mindsets, their entire identities are built around playing one position, or at least a grouping, whether it be secondary or linebacker or defensive line or what have you. And when you ask them, like say a tight end, to move to tackle, that's a really big ask from a mental standpoint, even more so than the physical aspect of having to make that decision and make that move. And if you can get that kid convinced that this is who he is, then you got an outstanding football player.
RJ Young, OUinsider.com. We played the video, and again, we've laughed about this a ton, but Lincoln Riley will continue to push the quarterback competition, and he did brought up, and it was brought up, I should say, this morning, and it's reasonable. Hey, Jalen Hurts was beaten out by somebody before. Now, again, I agree. I don't think he comes here unless he's going to be the quarterback, but in life, nothing is guaranteed, so this quarterback will, this battle, I should say, will move on.
Okay. I mean, if you say so, Pat. I mean, it gives us something to talk about for the next 5 months.
Lincoln said so.
Lincoln said so about Austin and Kyler. Did you believe him then?
I know. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, did you?
I did, 100%. I know. I was there.
You know, he gets to play that trick one time from where I'm sitting. Okay?
Yeah.
One time. All right, cool. Austin Kendall, he's in it for it. And then the whole Kyler Murray baseball thing kind of knocked things into high gear because it's like, yo, feels like it could be his job. And not only was it not his job, you ran him off. You know? I mean, what can we really expect out of Lincoln except that he's going to put an outstanding quarterback on the field? If that ends up being Tanner Mordecai, we will all be shocked. We will all be going, what? And we'll all be looking at Jalen Hurts going, yo, man, how you feel about this? Is he going to do the Alabama thing where he doesn't have anything bad to say about Tanner Mordecai or bad to say about Lincoln Riley and doesn't necessarily think that it's a bad decision that he's the backup at Oklahoma? That'd be interesting to see. And I like for muddiness. I like muddy stories. It makes talking about this stuff way more fun than to just say, Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy. But I'm not necessarily thinking I'm listening to Lincoln Riley talk about a quarterback competition. I mean, he said it. I understand that. I agree with him that he believes that there's a quarterback competition, and that's how he's approaching it. But I watch the games, and you watch the games. And Jalen Hurts is an outstanding quarterback. And even Shane Beamer, when he was at Georgia, talking about this with Jason Kersey at The Athletic, he said, look, when Kirby came in and said, don't be shocked if they make a change at halftime, I said, you got to be kidding me. That's the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. He got him to a title game. What do you mean they're going to make a decision to change? And then they made the change. And he was expecting Jalen Hurts to have something bad to say about it, but he read what we read, and he saw the kid when he got here, and that's been his temperament. He's with it. He's okay with it. So if you want to play that card, and you want to give Tanner Mordecai the job, feels like perhaps Jalen Hurts be the guy to let that slide. Be like, nah, I'm here to play football.
Jalen Hurts, he's also one of those kind of guys that you're not really going to know his full potential because he does run. I take that 25-yard scamper he had against Georgia to score, and he got pinged around pretty good, but he's a big dude. And so you're not really ever going to know until the lights are on, and you got to bring that guy to the ground. To go with that, though, I fully agree in the sense that there was a distinct point in time everybody remembered early in camp where Kyler Murray completely separated himself in that race back in August, and they continued to push the race for the next 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, you can't buy anything anymore. Listen, this is what's got to happen. This is all coach stuff. We get it. There's no question. Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback. And if you want to have more of a storyline, and if you want to have a competition, quote unquote, of course they're going to compete. Everybody's going to compete. Well, you're competing to be the number 2 guy. That's what you're competing for.
Well, I look at it this way, right? And this is my take on the entire situation. Even going back to Lincoln saying Austin Kendall has to be able to take away a lot because he was neck and neck with the Heisman winner. I think that Lincoln Riley believes that whoever he has as quarterback is going to be really, really good.
Sure.
and is going to be in the Heisman conversation because that's just how the offense is built. It's how good he is at picking quarterbacks. It's how good the guys are that he's grooming. So perhaps that is the takeaway from all of this, is that if you came through the doors at Oklahoma, you have the potential to be a Heisman winner at quarterback, which means that you have the potential to be the best player in college football. Now, I'm interested to see what that looks like with Austin Kendall going to West Virginia, and I understand Lincoln Riley doesn't coach at West Virginia. But I think that's his thinking and his mindset when he walks into that quarterback room, which also leads me to say maybe Tanner Schaefer's a lot better than we give him credit for. Maybe he can beat out Jalen Hurts. Maybe there really is a competition all up and down the depth chart. When Spencer Rattler gets here, we're going to hear about him taking on reps and him competing with Jalen Hurts and Tanner Mordecai and Tanner Schaefer for the job. Or are we?
Could be. We could. Hey, good stuff, man. We'll look forward to Sunday with Fight.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you.
Good stuff. Thanks. RJ Young, OU Inside.